Gentlemen, your kind attention, please. The price of your admission now enables you to seize this chance to witness Professor Tar's traveling historic curiosities. Dear ladies, hold on to your husbands, lest they be lured into sin. My assistant has ruined many a man by the hair on her chinny chin. Behold! The teeth through which George Washington, his last words weakly said. The pillowcase that drank the final thoughts from Lincoln's shattered head. And now, a moment of silence, please, as best as you can muster. Imbued with gore from the steaming corpse of our General George Armstrong Custer. Ladies and gents, as know we so well, these objects are wondrous oblique. But all the stories they could tell, if only they could speak. The sufferings of the great, my friends, are greater than we can know. And so tonight, for your moral, spiritual, and aesthetical entertainment, we will plumb the depths of suffering so unspeakably endured by our American muse of horror, Mr. Edgar Allan Poe. For this purpose, we have taken a hostage from the crypt, who shall be provoked to induce Mr. Poe to participate in our script. I speak of none other than his beloved Annabel Lee. Buried over 30 years ago today, her skeletal remains interred for you, and with her bones, this play. It was many a year ago in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. Her skin was smooth as porcelain, friends. Her eyes, they sparkled like dew. Those teeth, once pearls framed by ruby red lips, which whispered to Poe, I love you. Take special note of the bones of her wrist, from which dangled a red silken cord, the only detail of her threadbare interment, which Poe took great pains to afford. Secured it once was to this tiny tin bell attached to the stone above ground. Poe feared, if not dead, he would not hear her yell, so for weeks he expected this sound. Night after night he awaited this ring, hoping to hear her once again sing. Speak now, Virginia, your words full of grace. We are eager to see this reunion take place.
Dear Edgar was my cousin. A handsome man was he. He used to tell me stories and hold me on his knee. I was 13 when we were wed. Edgar was 25. We loved with a love that was more than love. We were happy and we were alive. He told me of his mother, an actress on the stage. A beauty she was, a face and voice, a bird in a limelight cage. He told me she was buried and dead by the time she reached his age.
Oh, what will become of me? Oh, what shall I do? Nobody coming to marry me. Nobody coming to
defiance, who knew her husband abandoned her once he was through. Illness, then death. Not an uncommon end for a penniless actress back then.
Nobody coming to.
That cameo portrait is the only trace left of the pretty young mother who left him bereft. Her singing, like mine, stayed in dear Edgar's head, a memory of life, sweet songs of the dead. And so, a theatrical end as the century started, a mother and child tragically parted.
He was a child, and she was a child, in their kingdom by the sea. And they loved, with a love that was more than love, Poe and his...
Don't you dare forget about me!
Quiet. The mother of the bride, the auntie of the groom, Maria Clem.
Call me Muddy.
Ah, dear Muddy.
You disgrace us and exploit us so your theatrics are cheap and apt. And you'll never succeed in luring Edgar here with Virginia looking like that.
But I am your Virginia. Mama, this is what happened to me.
I remember you only the way that you were.
Of course, as the child bride of Edgar A.P. Voila! Though her bones be made of wood, and her hair be made of spring, still her mouth is carved in memory of a time when she did sing.
I practiced a new song today. Are you ready?
Where's Eddie?
Where's Eddie? Where's Eddie? Indeed, we await him, madam, and our patience grows long.
I shall sing.
I shall sing.
Go ahead, sing your song.
Oh, what will become of me? Oh, what shall I do? Nobody coming to me. Nobody coming to.
He is here!
My dear Eddie, I never thought I would see him again. Taking your leave, sir.
After you, madam.
I'm sure you understand. Family.
Oh, Eddie, you come back to me. I'm so happy.
I'm so ashamed. Please don't look at me. I'm no longer beautiful.
Ladies and gents, the scene is now set. To view through rose-colored glasses, let us savor Poe's moment of untroubled joy. Ah, how quickly our happiness passes.
Boiled potatoes tonight, Eddie. Your favorite.
Yeah.
Oh, we missed you, Eddie. We were so terribly eager to hear about your business trip. Not much happened here while you were gone. I'll let Virginia tell you all the details.
Our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we, and neither the angels in heaven above nor the demons down under the sea can ever dissever my soul from the soul.
How was your trip?
Speak to me once more, Edgar.
Your trip, Edgar, dear? Your trip to the city?
May God wreak havoc, and the devil have pity. Editors, my dear, are apes. Their journals a literary blight. Too dark, they say of my stories. Too dense, too long, too intense, too trite. Every editor, my love, is a genius, it seems, though none of them knows how to write.
You sold nothing?
The marketplace is my disgrace. I sold but just one story. The stuff that seems to sell, my love, must be both droll and gory.
I remember it now. It was just after we were married. That story brought 2 precious months' rent.
And cherries for dessert, Eddie. Virginia and I gathered a whole basketful this afternoon to celebrate your return.
I outsmarted them, Sissy, and crafted a tale of horror dressed up as the comic. My compromise, dear, between artistic truth and the bane of the lewd economic.
So young, so proud, so much left unsaid. Oh, Edgar, my dear one, such heartbreak ahead.
Mother, Edgar
Elizabeth, God bless your memory. Our dearest Eddie sold another story today, and we're all so proud, and we know that you are too. Amen. That's wonderful, Eddie. Like Virginia and I always say, you'll be the finest, most famous writer this country has ever seen.
Though perhaps the poorest.
Oh, tell us your story over dinner, Eddie.
To be silenced in life is to live as a ghost, a fate Edgar feared more than death. Unaware of our future, we lifted a toast
To next month's publication of Loss of Breath.
Thou wretch! Thou vixen! Thou shrew! Thou witch! Thou hag! Thou whippersnapper!
Said I to my wife on the morning after our wedding.
Thou saint of iniquity! Thou fiery-faced contestant of all that is abominable! Thou!
Standing on tiptoe,
Thou!
seizing her by the throat, and
Thou!
placing my mouth close to her ear, I prepared to launch forth a new and more decided epithet of opprobrium when I discovered, to my extreme horror and astonishment, that I had lost my breath. Yes, breathless. I am serious in asserting that my breath was entirely gone. I could not have stirred a feather with it or sullied even the delicacy of a mirror if my life had been at issue. Safely ensconced in my private boudoir, I commenced a vigorous search for my breath. Concealed in some obscure corner or lurking in some closet or drawer, I thought it was possible to find the lost object of my inquiry. I thought it might have a vapory, even a tangible form. But the contemptible reward of my industry produced, among other sundries, only a bundle of suspicion-confirming love letters from Mr. Windenough to my wife. With a heavy heart, I remained for some time absorbed in meditation. 1,000 vague and lacrimatory fancies took possession of my soul. Even the phantom suicide flitted across my brain. But it is a trait in the perversity of human nature to reject the obvious for the far distant and equivocal. I had already made up my mind to leave the country.
All aboard!
The coach was crammed to repletion.
Excuse me!
I suffered myself to be placed between two gentlemen of colossal dimensions. A third of a size larger requested pardon for the liberty he was about to take.
Just need a little...
And he threw himself upon my body at full length. He fell asleep in an instant, drowning all my guttural ejaculation for relief in a snore which would have put to the blush the roarings of a Valerian bull. All my limbs were dislocated, and my head was twisted on one side. Happily, the state of my respiratory faculties rendered suffocation and accident entirely out of the question. As day broke, my tormentor rose to thank me for my civility.
Oh, my back! I say, what's this?
I remained motionless.
He's dead.
Dead?
He's not dead. He's dead. Look at him. You killed him. I killed him myself.
Are you certain he's dead?
Well, I'm no doctor, but I'd say he's dead.
What's the proof?
Well, no breath. Conjecture.
It appears you smothered him.
Smother him. I'll let you know I know that he's smother him.
Well, perhaps he was dead when we got on.
I'm so plausible. Perhaps he's riddled with some ghastly disease.
The whole party expressed their determination to proceed no farther with any such carcass. And so, accordingly, at the sign of the crow, I was thrown out of the carriage. I met no farther accident than the breaking of both my arms under the left hind wheel of the vehicle. I must do the driver justice to state that he did not forget to throw after me the largest of my trunks, which, unfortunately, falling on my head, fractured my skull in a manner at once interesting and extraordinary.
Bless me, what was a roadkill?
Finding that my trunk contained sufficient to indemnify him for any little trouble he might take on my behalf, the landlord of the Crows sent forthwith for a surgeon.
Found him right here in the gutter as well as my witness. Still warm, perfect for your research.
He's under the
The purchaser took me to his apartments and commenced operations immediately. However, having cut off my ears, he discovered signs of animation. Undeterred, he made an incision in my stomach, removing several of my viscera for private dissection. I endeavored to confute the idea that I was actually dead by kicking and plunging with all my might, making the most furious contortions. All, however, was attributed to the effects of a new galvanic battery, with which were performed several curious experiments, and from my personal share in their fulfillment, I could not help feeling deeply interested.
Stay right here.
The surgeon fastened my hands.
Like that. Don't move!
Then bolted the door on the outside as he hurried to his dinner, leaving me alone to silence and to meditation. Mentally repeating some passages of the omnipresence of the deity, as is my custom before resigning myself to sleep. A cat, a Bergruvian vituperative turn, alighted on my visage and betook itself to the indecorous, albeit paltry, consideration of my nose. The loss of a few ounces of my countenance proved the salvation of my body. Aroused by the pain, burning with indignation, I burst the fastenings, and casting a glance of contempt at the belligerent feline, I precipitated myself very dexterously from the window. Meanwhile, on the street below.
So, the guy says that, the big guy. The big guy says to the quit hogging!
A male robber to whom I bore a singular resemblance was at this very moment passing from the city jail to the scaffold erected for his execution in the suburbs.
Oh, jeez, we're almost there. Say, I gotta drain the snake.
We'll make that a double.
Perceiving his opportunity, the prisoner leapt up,
Always know your cue.
bolted out, turned down an alley, and was out of sight in the twinkling of an eye. As ill luck would have it, I lit up upon my feet within the vehicle.
Hear something?
Yeah, sounded like something.
Seeing a man, the precise counterpart of the felon, standing upright in the cart, the recruits were of the opinion that the rascal was after making his escape.
Oh, look at that.
Turn our backs. Now just don't die before we get there.
It was not long ere we arrived at the place of destination. Nothing could be said in my defense. Hanging was my inevitable fate. I resigned myself thereto with a feeling half stupid, half acrimonious. Being little of a cynic, I had all the sentiments of a dog.
Any last words? Too tight?
My convulsions were said to be extraordinary. Several gentlemen swooned, and some ladies were carried home in hysterics. Die, I certainly did not. I heard my heart beating with violence. The veins in my hands and wrists swelled nearly to bursting. My temples throbbed tempestuously, and I felt that my eyes were starting from their sockets. Yet when I say that in spite of all this, my sensations were not absolutely intolerable, I will not be believed. A sea of waiting hands rolled around me. In the intensity of my delight, my eyelid were feelings of the deepest commiseration and blessed as I looked upon the haggard assembly, the superior benignity of my proper stars.
Good show tonight! Who'd have thunk he had so much left?
I see better.
Having been suspended for the full term of execution, it was thought proper to remove my body from the gallows. When the rope was loosened from my neck, a dim consciousness of my situation oppressed me like a nightmare. I was laid out in a chamber sufficiently small, and yet it appeared of a size to contain the universe. I have never, before or since, in body or in mind, suffered half so much agony as from that single idea. Strange, the simple conception of abstract magnitude, of infinity, should have been accompanied by pain. Yet so it was. The morning broke at length. In a short time, I felt myself deposited within the tomb. No event is so terribly well adapted to inspire the supremeness of bodily and of mental distress as his burial before death. The stifling fumes from the damp earth, the clinging of the death garments, the rigid embrace of the narrow house, the blackness of the absolute night, the silence like a sea that overwhelms, the unseen but palpable presence of the conqueror worm. These things, with thoughts of the air and grass above, carry into the heart which still palpitates a degree of appalling and intolerable horror from which the most daring imagination must recoil. Arise. Suddenly there came an icy hand upon my forehead. The darkness was total. How canst thou tranquilly sleep? I could not see the figure of him who had aroused me. Get thee up. Come with me into the outer night, and let me unfold to thee the graves. I looked. The unseen figure still grasping me by the wrist had thrown open the graves of all mankind, and from each issued the faint phosphoric radiance of decay. The shrouded bodies in their sad and solemn slumbers with the worm. Struggling, and there was a general sad unrest. And from out of the depths of the countless pits, there came a melancholy rustling from the garments of the buried. Is it not, oh God, is it not a pitiful sight? I stood trembling and shuddering in horror, for the tones in this voice were not the tones of any one being, but of a multitude of beings, which varying in their cadences from syllable to syllable, fell duskily upon me as the well-remembered and familiar accents of 1,000 departed friends.
I cannot find you, Edgar. I search, but I can't find your face. We loved with a love that was more than love, and our love left behind me not a trace. We promised each other eternity. Edgar, we promised each other the sky.
Dear Edgar, your tale seemed to jump off the page. Now it's time for some fresh cherry pie.
Before dessert, May we sweeten the air with a song.
No, Edgar, please, not tonight. Please, let's wait. Let us relish this joy just a little bit more. One innocent song. It will all be too late. You cannot imagine the horror in store. Please, my love, I beg you.
I could sing that new little ditty.
Oh, Edgar, it sounds real pretty.
I am powerless to stop it.
Oh, what will become of me? Oh, what shall I do? Nobody coming to marry me.
Sissy,
I'm fine. All that talk of losing one's breath, I seem to have lost my own. Nobody coming to marry me. Nobody coming to.
Sissy!
now it has begun. What we formerly knew as days passed unto eternal night. Through love, our hope persisted. Edgar never ceased to write, and by writing, to hope to live. Through love, my hope persisted. I never ceased to fight, and by fighting, to hope to live. But the surface of my body could not deceive the ravaging within. Our love transcended life, but still I grew weaker, I grew thin. I fought, but I knew I must die. Too soon, too soon. Goodbye. Still, we lived with a life that was more than life in our cottage of timbers and loam. We lived with a hope that was tempered as hope now that death was a guest in our home. And our sky, once so clear and blue, darkened.
Eleonora was the name of my cousin, the sole daughter of my aunt, the only sister of my mother, long departed. We had always dwelled together in the valley of the many-colored grass, beneath a tropical sun. To reach our happy home, there was need of putting back with force the foliage of many thousands of forest trees, and of crushing to death the glories of many millions of fragrant flowers. Thus it was that we lived all alone, knowing nothing of the world without the valley. I and my cousin and her mother.
From the dim regions beyond the mountains, there crept out a narrow and deep river.
We called it the River of Silence.
For there seemed to be a hushing influence in its flow. No murmur arose from its bed. So gently it wandered along that the pearly pebbles upon which we loved to gaze stirred not at all, but lay in a motionless content, each in its own station, shining gloriously on forever.
Hand in hand about this valley, for 15 years roamed I with Eleonora, before love entered within our hearts. It was one evening when we sat locked in each other's embrace beneath the serpent-like trees. We gazed down into the waters of the River of Silence, and our own images therein. He spoke no words during the rest of that sweet day, and our words upon the morrow were tremulous and few.
A change fell upon all things. Strange, brilliant flowers, star-shaped, burst out upon the trees where no flowers had been known before. The tints of the green carpet deepened. The white daisies shrank away, and there sprang up in place of them 10 by 10 of the ruby-red asphodel. Life arose in our path. Golden and silver fishes haunted the river, from which issued a murmur that swelled into a lulling melody, sweeter than all save the voice of Eleonora. A tall flamingo, hitherto unseen, flaunted his scarlet plumage before us. A vast and voluminous cloud, all gorgeous in crimson and gold, settled in peace above us, sinking day by day, lower and lower, until its edges rested on the tops of the mountains, shutting us up as if forever within a magic prison house of grandeur and of glory.
My Eleonora, artless and innocent as the brief life she led among the flowers.
One day, having spoken at length in tears of the last sad change which must befall humanity, she thenceforward dwelt only upon this one sorrowful theme.
She had seen that the finger of death was upon her bosom.
She had seen that like the ephemera, she had been made perfect in loveliness, only to die.
She grieved to think that, having entombed her in the valley of the many-colored grass, I would quit forever its happy recesses, transferring our passionate love to some maiden of the outer and everyday world.
I threw myself at her feet and offered up a vow to herself and to heaven.
I will never bind myself in marriage to any daughter of earth. I will never prove recreant to your dear memory, or to the memory of the devout affection with which you have blessed me.
I called the mighty ruler of the universe to witness my vow, and invoked a curse of him of exceeding great horror should I prove traitorous to that promise.
She trembled and very bitterly wept, but she made acceptance of the vow. For what was she but a child?
Not many days afterward, she lay tranquilly, dying.
Because of what you have done for the comfort of my spirit, I will watch over you in that spirit when departed. If permitted, I shall return to you visibly in the watches of the night. But if this is beyond the power of the souls in paradise, I shall sigh upon you in the evening winds, filling the air you breathe with perfume from the censers of the angels.
With these words upon her lips, she yielded up her innocent life, putting an end to the first epoch of my own.
My memory is feeble through much suffering. There is one dear topic, however, on which my memory faileth me not. It is the person of Lygia. Lygia. In vain would I attempt to portray her majesty, the quiet ease of her demeanor, the incomprehensible lightness and elasticity of her footfall. She came and departed like a shadow. I was never able to hear her entry into my closed study, save by the dear music of her low, sweet voice as she placed her delicate hand on my shoulder. With what vivid delight did I feel as she bent over me and studied the delicious vista expanding before me, down whose long, gorgeous, and all untrodden path I might at length pass onwards to the goal of a wisdom too divinely precious not to be forbidden. Without Lygia, I was but as a child, groping, benighted. The learning of Lygia was immense, such as I have never known in woman, where breathes the man who, like her, has traversed all the wide areas of moral and natural and mathematical science. Without Lygia, I was but as a child. There is no exquisite beauty without some strangeness of the proportion, and this strangeness I found in the eyes of my Lygia, in the expression of the eyes of Lygia. What was it which lay far within the pupils of my beloved? What was it? Those eyes, those large, those shining, those divine orbs. Not for a moment was the unfathomable meaning of their glance absent from my soul.
I well remember a passage in a volume much adored by my Lygia, and which, perhaps merely from its quaintness, who shall say, never failed to inspire me as well. Who knoweth the mysteries of the will with its vigor? For God is but a great will pervading all things. Man doth not yield him to the angels, nor unto death utterly, but only through the weakness of his feeble will.
But now those eyes shone less and less frequently upon the pages over which we once pored.
Lygia grew ill.
I saw that she must die, and I struggled desperately in spirit.
Words are impotent to convey any just idea of the fierceness of resistance with which Lygia wrestled with the dark shadow. I would have soothed, I would have reasoned, but in the intensity of her wild desire for life, just for life, solace and reason were alike the uttermost of folly.
For long hours she would pour out before me the overflowings of a heart whose more than passionate devotion amounted to idolatry. In the darkest hour of the last night of her existence, she bade me repeat verses composed by herself not many days before.
Out are the lights, out all, and over each dying form the curtain of funeral pall comes down with the rush of the storm. And the seraphs, all haggard and wan, uprising, unveiling, affirm that the play is the tragedy, man, and its hero, the conqueror worm.
Oh, God. Oh, Divine Father. Shall these things be undeviatingly so? Shall this conqueror be not once conquered? Oh, Who knoweth the mysteries of the will with its vigor? Man does not yield him to the angels, nor unto death utterly, save only through the weakness of his feeble will.
As she breathed her last sighs, there came a low murmur from her lips.
Man does not yield him to the angels, nor unto death utterly, save only through the weakness of his feeble will.
She died. There were things around us about which I can render no distinct account. Things material and spiritual. Heaviness in the atmosphere. A sense of suffocation. Anxiety. And above all, that terrible state of existence which the nervous experience when the senses are keenly living and awake, and the powers of thought lie dormant.
Crushed up to the very dust by my sorrow, I could no longer endure the lonely desolation of my dwelling.
"6 years ago, a wife whom I loved as no man ever loved before, ruptured a blood vessel in singing. Her life was despaired of. I took leave of her forever and underwent all the agonies of her death. She recovered partially, and again I hoped. At the end of a year, the vessel broke again. I went through precisely the same scene. Then, again, and again, and even once again, at varying intervals. Each time, I felt all the agonies of her death. At each accession of the disorder, I loved her more dearly and clung to her life with more desperate pertinacity.
Edgar is constitutionally sensitive.
And nervous in a very unusual degree.
During these fits of absolute unconsciousness,
I drank, God only knows how often or how much.
his enemies, as a matter of course, referred the insanity to the drink.
Rather than the drink, to the insanity.
Oh, Eddie, have you been here all this while?
No, I just came in, a break from work. How lucky for us both.
So tired.
A cup of tea, perhaps?
What? Oh, yes, Edgar, a cup of tea would be nice.
It is this horrible, never-ending, vacillation between hope and despair.
Get the tea.
Between hope and despair.
If you stay here like this, find something to do. The tea. A moment's distraction. Tea would do you good.
Which I can no longer endure without total loss of reason. I become insane with long intervals of horrible sanity.
As I pass the barrier in time's path,
Formed by the death of my beloved,
and proceed into the second era of my existence,
a vague shadow gathers over my brain.
Years drag themselves along heavily in the valley of the many-colored grass.
A second change has come upon all things. The star-shaped flowers shrink into the stems of the trees.
The green carpet fades.
The ruby-red asphodels wither away, and there spring up in their place dark, eye-like violets that quiver uneasily.
Life departs from my path.
The tall flamingo flies sadly from the vale into the hills.
At lone hours, in the night air, when my heart beats heavily, I hear the sound of the censers of the angels.
Holy perfume floats ever and ever about the valley, and the winds that bathe my brow are laden with soft sighs and indistinct murmurs.
Once
But once only.
I am awakened from a slumber like unto the slumber of death, the pressing of spiritual lips on mine arm.
I long
I madly pine
for the love which once filled my heart to overflowing.
The valley pains me. Its memories of Eleanor. I must leave it forever.
For the vanities and the turbulent triumphs of the world.
As I pass the barrier in time's path,
Formed by the death of my beloved,
and proceed into the second era of my existence, a vague shadow gathers over my brain. After a few months of aimless wandering, I purchased an abbey in a state of advanced verdant decay. Let me speak only of that chamber within the highest turret of the abbey, ever accursed, whither in a moment of mental alienation I led from the altar as my bride, as the successor to the unforgotten Lygia, the fair-haired and blue-eyed Lady Rowena of Tremaine. The lofty walls of that apartment, gigantic in height, even disproportionately so, are hung from summit to foot in vast folds with a heavy, massy-looking tapestry. The material is the richest cloth of gold, spotted all over with arabesque figures of a most jetty black. Upon entering this chamber, These figures bear the appearance of ideal monstrosities, an endless succession of the ghastly forms of superstition of the guilty slumbers of a monk.
In each of the angles of the pentagonal chamber stands on end a gigantic sarcophagus of black granite from the tombs of kings, their aged lids full of immemorial sculpture. Golden candelabra of Eastern figure were in various stations about, and there was a couch the bridal couch.
From out of the central recess of the melancholy vaulting of the ceiling there depends by a single gold chain with long links, a huge censer, arabesque in pattern with perforations so contrived that they writhe in and out of them as if endued with a serpent vitality, a continual succession of party-colored fires.
This phantasmagoric effect is vastly heightened by a strong, continual current of wind behind the draperies, giving a hideous and uneasy vitality to the whole.
In this hall, we pass the unhallowed hours of the first month of our marriage. My wife dreaded the fierce moodiness of my temper. She shunned me and loved me but little, and it gave me rather pleasure than otherwise. I loathed her with a hatred belonging more to demon than to man. In the excitement of my opium dreams, for I was now habitually fettered in the iron shackles of the drug, my memory flew back to Lygia, beloved, the beautiful, the entombed. I would call aloud her name in the silence of the night, as if by the consuming intensity of my devotion I could restore her to the pathway she had abandoned upon earth. In the second month of our marriage, the lady Rowena was attacked with a sudden illness. She became at length convalescent, finally well, yet but a brief period elapsed ere a second and more violent disorder again threw her upon a bed of suffering. Defying alike the knowledge and the great exertions of her medical men, her illnesses were of alarming proportions and more alarming recurrences. She spoke of sounds, of unusual motions among the tapestries. Indeed, reason seemed fast tottering from her throne.
The miracle of August! My illness suddenly went mute. Euphoric, we plundered the cherry trees. 2 children harvesting fruit. Oh. Edgar, what is it?
Oh, nothing, my lover. A dead branch attempting to frighten me.
Edgar? Eddie?
It's truly nothing, my lover. My nervous constitution set off by an insect of particularly alarming grotesqueness.
Eddie, you must learn to calm down. Everything's going to be all right now. I believe it with all my heart. The sun shines on us once more, and I shall never leave you.
And we shall celebrate with Cherry's Jubilee.
Oh, yes, Edgar, the perfect treat for us. We shall. Eddie,
In September, as I sat by the side of her ebony bed, with feelings half of anxiety, half of vague terror, she partly arose and spoke of sounds which I could not hear and emotions which I could not perceive. She appeared to be fainting. So I hastened across the chamber to procure a decanter of white light wine ordered by her physicians. As I stepped beneath the censer, I felt a comfortable invisible object pass lightly by my person, and I saw a faint indefinite shadow on the golden carpet in the very middle of the rich luster thrown by the censer. Wild with the excitement of an immoderate dose of opium, I heeded these things but little. And poured a goblet full, which I held to the lips of the fainted lady. I then distinctly heard a gentle footfall on the carpet. As Rowena drew the wine to her lips, I saw fall within the goblet, as if from some invisible spring in the atmosphere of the room, 3 or 4 large drops of a brilliant and ruby-colored fluid. I forbore to speak of it. She swallowed the wine unhesitatingly. After this night, there was a rapid change for the worse in the disorder of my life. Her menials now prepare her for the tomb. A thousand memories of Lygia, then rush upon me with the turbulent violence of the flood. It comes back, the whole of the unutterable woe with which I had regarded Lygia prepared for the tomb. I sit alone with the shrouded body. It might have been midnight. My eyes riveted upon Rowena, my bosom filled with bitter thoughts of my one, my only, my supremely beloved Lygia, when a sob, low, gentle, but very distinct, startles me from my reverie. I listen in an agony of superstitious horror, but there is no repetition of the sound. At length, a slight, barely perceptible twitching of the hand. The brain reels, the heart ceases to beat, the limbs grow cold. Have we been too hasty in our preparations for interment? Rowena still lives! Alone, I struggle to go back, her still hovering spirit, but the coldness overspreads rapidly the surface of her body, and the usual rigorous stiffness immediately supervenes. I fall back in a shudder and give myself up to passionate, waking visions of Lygia. An hour elapses when in extremity of horror the sound comes again. Rushing to the corpse, I see distinctly, see a tremor on the lips, a slight palpitation of the heart. Suddenly it ceases, and the whole body takes upon itself the loathsome peculiarities of that which has been for many days the tenant of a tomb. Again I sing to visions of Nigeria. Again there comes to my ears a sob, time after time until the gray dawn. This hideous drama of revivification is repeated. Each terrific relapse a sterner, more irredeemable death. The corpse of Rowena stirs once again, now more vigorously than before. Rowena has shaken off utterly the fetters of death. Mad disorder in my thoughts. Is this the living Rowena? Why doubt it? She stands bodily and palpably before me. What? But the hair!
Those eyes, those full, black, wild eyes of the lady Lygia.
I find myself within a strange eastern city. Blotting from recollection sweet dreams in the valley of the many-colored grass. Manifestations of Eleonora cease. The world grows dark before my eyes. Pumps, pageantries, the mad clamor of arms, the radiant loveliness of women bewilder and intoxicate my brain. I yield without a struggle my whole recreant heart to a fair and slender maiden. Oh, glorious the wavy flow of her auburn hair, rapture in the fantastic grace of her step. And I forget, nay, I despise the horrors of the curse I had so blindly invoked, the promise I had made to my beloved Eleonora. I am wedded to the Lady Ermengarde, and no longer fear the curse, nor am I troubled by its bitterness. Time passes, and in the silence of an ordinary night, there comes through my lattice the soft sighs, the sweet voice which had forsaken me.
Sleep in peace. The spirit of love reigneth and ruleth. In taking to thy passionate heart her who is Ermengarde, thou art absolved of thy vows unto me. unto Eleonora, for reasons which shall be made known to thee in heaven.
Please forgive me for waking you, but I bring marvelous news at long last. My trip to New York was a triumph. Our worries a thing of the past. 3 stories sold, a monograph, 2 poems, and, oh, the relief. My very own literary journal. At last, your Eddie, an editor-in-chief. Everything's all right now. Oh, Muddy, we've wanted this for so long. I can't wait to tell Sissy.
She fought so hard, she did. She loved this life of ours. She loved you more than... She tried so hard to hang on until you returned. Please don't blame her. Her last words were words of love for you.
Sissy?
Another attack. Not a big one. In the middle of the night, I sent for a doctor at dawn, but there was nothing.
Sissy?
After he left, I realized we have no remembrance, no picture of our Virginia. I sent for an artist, Edgar, before it's too late. It'll help us remember her in years to come. That's probably him. Will you stay, Edgar, while he draws her portrait to make certain the remembrance is right?
Oh, no, I can't. I can't. I have to go outside.
Nothing lasts forever, friends. Not even the stars in the sky. The oceans will vanish. Poetic words fade. Even true love must needs die. The suffering of the great, my friends, is far greater than we can know. He grieves in a silent meadow of snow, where we leave him and thus end our show. The price of your admission, friends, enabled you to see what remains of the love that was once more than love in the bones of Annabel Lee. In the bones.
Oh, Eddie, you must learn to calm down. Everything's going to be all right now. I mean it with all my heart. The sun shines on us once more, and I shall never, never leave you.
It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived, whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden, she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child, and she was a child, in this kingdom by the sea. But we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee. With a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago in this kingdom by the sea, a wind came out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee. So that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason As all men know in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabelle Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we. And neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabelle Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabelle Lee. And the stars never rise, but I feel the bright eyes of my beautiful Annabelle. And so, all the night, I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my pride. In her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea.
I stand amid the roar of the surf-tormented shore, and I hold within my hand grains of the yellow sand. How few, yet how they creep through my fingers to the deep. While I weep, is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream?
Oh God, can I not grasp them with tighter clasp?
Oh God, can I not save one from the pitiless wave?
all that we see or seem, but a dream within a dream.
150 years ago, 150 years ago, 'neath russet leaves and gentle rain, they buried Edgar Allan Poe. I am a teacher, English, American to be precise. I teach American Lit to freshmen at Glenview East High School in Glenview, Indiana. It's an okay job. To be more precise, it pays the bills. And now, in summer, I don't have to work. It's an okay job. I am here in Baltimore to visit Poe's grave. I promised my students I'd take a picture of it. I teach Poe. My students understand his feelings, or claim to. The rage, the horror. They all like the big feelings. I like them too, but I've learned to settle for the smaller ones. They're less expensive in the short run, less taxing. This isn't the life I wanted. I always thought I would do something special. I always thought I would write stories, feel the big feelings, really live, really sing and suffer. Edgar Allan Poe disappeared for 10 days. Did you know that? He was lying in the gutter when they found him half delirious. He died 2 days later on the 8th of October, 1849. No one knows what happened. Theories, sure, but to this day, no one really knows. Those 10 days to me are unimaginable. I would give anything to know what happened. Maybe it doesn't matter what actually physically happened. What matters is what happened in his spirit. Poe felt the big feelings and he suffered for it. We have his stories, but the glimpse is not enough. I want to peer at his soul. Did I tell you my wife left me last year? I go to the Zen Center on Thursdays in Crestview. I meditate or complain. Compared to Poe, it's not really suffering. We talk on the phone once a week. We're friends now, whatever that means. But sometimes I have an overwhelming desire to be dead. Not to kill myself, just to be dead. I am alive and not alive. Dead and not dead. I cope. Or do I? Every year, on the anniversary of Poe's mysterious death, someone places a black rose on his grave. No one knows who. Theory, sure, but no one really knows. The students eat this stuff up. Me too. But I'll be back in Indiana on the 8th of October. I'll be back in my life by then. So I'm going to stage a photo for their benefit. Doesn't hurt anybody.
At midnight in the month of June, I stand beneath the mystic moon. An opiate vapor, dewy, dim, exhales from out the golden rim.
The rosemary nods upon the grave, the lily lolls upon the wave, wrapping the fog about its breast, the ruin molders into rest.
The writer sleeps, oh may his sleep, which is enduring, so be deep.
And it is lasting, so be deep.
Soft may the worms about him creep.
Far in the forest, dim and old, for him may some tall vault unfold, some vault that oft hath flung its black and winged panels fluttering back.
Some sepulchre remote, alone, against whose portals he hath thrown in childhood many an idle stone.
Some tomb from out whose sounding door he ne'er shall force an echo more.
Thrilling to think, poor child of sin, it was the dead who groaned within.
October of my most immemorial year.
And my heart it grew ashen and sober, as the leaves that were crisped and sere, as the leaves that were withering and sere, and I cried,
It was surely October on this very night of last year that I journeyed down here. I brought a dread burden down here.
On this night of all nights in the year.
What demon has tempted me here?
What demon has tempted me here? Yeah!
Excuse me. Excuse me, I was wondering if... I was wondering, do you work here?
Work? No. This is where I live.
Sorry. My name is John Fortunato. I'm a teacher. I promised my students I'd take a picture of Poe's grave. I teach Poe.
Picture.
And I was wondering if you'd take a picture of me with the grave. If it's not too much trouble, I'm traveling by myself and... right, the famous Black Rose. Do you know the story?
Yes, of course. But it is summer. It is not the right day.
I know. I suppose I am cheating, but I figured as long as it doesn't hurt anybody.
I am sorry. I cannot help you.
Wait! I'm sorry if the rose upsets you. Just a silly idea. I really didn't intend any harm. I'm sorry if I offended you.
No thinking being lives who, at some luminous point of his life of thought, has not felt himself lost amid the surges of futile efforts at understanding or believing that anything exists greater than his own soul. The utter impossibility of any one soul feeling itself inferior to another, the intense, overwhelming dissatisfaction and rebellion at the thought, these, with the omniprevalent aspirations at perfection, are but the spiritual, coincident with the material, struggles toward the original unity, and are, to my mind at least, a species of proof far surpassing what man terms demonstration that no one soul is inferior to another, that nothing is or can be superior to any one soul, that each soul is, in part, its own God, its own creator. In a word, that God, the material and spiritual God, now exists solely in the diffused matter and spirit of the universe, and that the regathering of this diffused matter and spirit will be but the reconstitution of the purely spiritual and individual God.
Eureka! That's from Eureka, Poe's Labor of Love, in the year after Virginia's death. I remember the preface. To the few who love me and whom I love. To those who feel rather than to those who think. To the dreamers and those who put their faith in dreams as in the only reality, I offer this book of truths. Pardon me for saying this. I mean no offense at all, but I must tell you, you are most beautiful. You look exactly like my wife, my ex-wife. The way she looked when we took a trip here over 20 years ago. Your voice is like hers, the way you move.
You are Fortunato?
John Fortunato. Ah, right! Fortunato from the cask of Amontillado. The thousand injuries of Fortunato.
I had borne as best I could, but when he ventured upon insult, I vowed revenge.
My students, of course, love that story. We dramatize it every year. Their revenge, I call it. I wear this hat, and they use books to brick me up in the broom closet. Just before the final book, I scream like this. I always remain silent a much longer time than they expect. I wait for the laughter to end, for the silence to bury the room. I wait for them to really imagine what has happened to Fortunato.
some years, even after I come out, they remain silent.
You, who knows so well the nature of my soul, will not suppose, however, that I gave utterance to a threat. At length, I would be avenged. I must not only punish, but punish with impunity. You are Fortunato.
Yes. Yes. You've come to visit the grave?
I live here.
Ah, you can see it any time. Lucky.
No. I must leave now. Please know, I am sorry for you. Thy soul shall find itself alone mid dark thoughts of the gray tombstone. Not one of all the crowd to pry into thine hour of secrecy. Be silent in that solitude which is not loneliness. For then the spirits of the dead who stood in life before thee are again in death around thee, and their will shall overshadow thee. Be still.
The night though clear shall frown, and the stars shall look not down from their high thrones in the heaven, with light like hope to mortals given. But their red orbs without beam to thy weariness shall seem as a burning and a fever which would cling to thee forever.
Now our thoughts thou shalt not banish.
Now our visions there to vanish.
From thy spirit shall they pass.
No more, like dewdrops from the grass.
The breeze, the breath of God, is still.
And the mist upon the hill, shadowy, shadowy, yet unbroken, is a symbol and a token, how it hangs upon the trees. Yeah! A mystery of mysteries.
Why did she say, I am sorry for you? I heed not that my earthly lot hath little of earth in it. That years of love have been forgot in the hatred of a minute. I mourn not that the desolate are happier sweet than I, but that you sorrow for my fate, who am a passer by. tell me, I implore, quoth the raven.
Go! Go! Go!
Let me give you some food. You're not a raven at all. You're a crow. Cashing in on the tourists, huh?
Go! Go! Go!
Are you here to tell me something?
Go!
So angry. Are you going to drive me mad like the raven? You look like the raven. Can I take a picture of you on Edgar Allan Poe's grave? My students won't believe this. Come on, turn this way.
You are in danger.
Calm down, I'm not going to hurt you.
That girl was a spirit. You will go mad. Get away from here. Go away.
You're safe here, I'm not going to hurt you. I stand amid the roar of the surf-tormented shore, and I hold within my hand grains of the yellow sand. Oh God, can I not grasp them with a tighter clasp? Is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream?
The flowers are in full bloom, and the leaves are luscious green. The sky is clearest blue, the strangest October I've ever seen.
It is June?
No, you're quite wrong. It is October 8th. There's the proof.
I brought that rose. I'm so terribly sorry. I wanted to get a picture. I meant no disrespect. I was going to remove it as soon as I got the picture.
A stage prop!
I meant no harm.
still living? Why are you silent?
I am afraid.
Of what?
I am afraid of you. I am afraid of your power.
I have no power. Am nothing.
I am Fortunato, and I have offended you. I am afraid of your revenge.
We stand on the brink of a precipice. We peer into the abyss. We grow sick and dizzy. Our first impulse is to shrink from the danger, and yet, unaccountably, we remain. You do not see me.
You are not real?
You see only yourself, terrified, blind.
What happened to you? What happened to you during those 10 days? I swear I will tell no one.
What happened to you?
There are some secrets that do not permit themselves to be told. Men die nightly in their beds, wringing the hands of ghostly confessors, looking them piteously in the eyes. They die with despair of heart and convulsion of throat, on account of the hideousness of mysteries, mysteries which will not suffer themselves to be revealed. Now and then, alas, the conscience of man takes up a burden so heavy in horror that it can be thrown down only into the grave. I cannot tell you what happened during my last 10 days. Words are insufficient. If you really want to know, go there yourself.
Are at best shadowy and vague. Who
And thus, the essence of all crime is not divulged.
Arousing from the most profound of slumbers, we break the gossamer web of some dream. Yet in a second afterwards, we remember not that we have dreamed.
Oh, that my young life were a lasting dream, my spirit not awakening till the beam of an eternity should bring the morrow. Shall frown, and the stars shall look not down from their thrones in the dark heaven with light like hope to mortals given.
But their red orbs without beam to thy withering heart shall seem as a burning and a fever which would cling to thee forever.
But 'twill leave thee as each star in the morning light afar will fly thee and vanish. But its thought thou canst not banish.
But its thoughts thou shalt not banish. From thy spirit shall they pass no more, like dewdrops from the grass.
The breath of God will be still.
And the wisp upon the hill, by that summer breeze unbroken, shall charm thee as a token, and a symbol which shall be secrecy in thee. How it hangs upon the trees, a mystery of mysteries.